Hey guys, welcome to Spiritual Journey. My name is Colleen Jorgensen, and today we're going to talk about this new moon on December 19th that is going to arrive at 28 degrees of Sagittarius, 25 minutes on December the 19th. And it's going to be on the 20th in some locations over in the UK. Because it lands at 5:45 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 6:45 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, 7:45 p.m. Central Standard Time, and 8:45 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So this new moon is the last new moon of 2025. And it really kind of makes a statement as to the fact that it is kind of ushering in 2026 with a lot of shifting tides, situations, a lot of turning points that it's going to bring in. And so this new moon seems to be more important than some of the other energies that we've experienced. Now, there's a lot of mutable energy here. We have Mercury, Venus, Juno, and the new moon all sitting in Sagittarius, which gives a lot of flexibility and kind of insinuates that nothing is really consistent. And then, of course, we have Saturn and Neptune that are also in a mutable sign of Pisces because they have retrograded back into Pisces. And so this new moon is kind of exciting. Sagittarius is kind of this optimistic energy. And it really indicates that this is really fresh new energy that is emerging. And all new moons are about new beginnings. And this one seems to be especially important because it's sitting right at the center of our universe, which is the Galactic Center at 27 degrees of Sagittarius, so it's within 1 degree of that point. And this center, this galactic center, is the core of our galaxy. So it's not the core of the whole universe, it's just the core of our personal galaxy, and where it is believed that there is kind of this portal to the higher consciousness. A center where God resides, or advanced divine wisdom or spiritual insights are emerging. And it really is triggering this energy of boosting our consciousness or downloading us with new information. So the thought process kind of speeds up. And there is a connection between our personal little earth here and the divine. So it's suggesting that this point is ushering in a new perspective, an increase of universal awareness, or an increase of knowledge. So pay attention to the messages out there and the synchronicities. It's also interesting that AI Atlas, this little asteroid, or it's not a comet, they don't really know what it is, but it is coming also to its closest point to Earth on December 19th, exactly at this new moon. And the origins of this anomaly, or this energy, originates outside of our solar system. It's not part of our solar system. It's traveling through the constellation of Virgo, which really kind of tells me that this could be a shift of the way we interact with each other in terms of, are we being of service to one another? Is humanity serving, are we serving each other in the most beneficial way? It's also about our health and the work and how we work, but it's also about ancient wisdom and the dosages that we need in order to be healthy. Now, it came to its closest point to Mars on October 30th, 3rd, and the Sun on October 29th, and it will come closest to Jupiter on March 16th of 2026. Now, the meaning of these visitors, these alien visitors, comets, asteroids, those types of things in ancient times meant that this was the bringer of new information and that significant events are about to unfold. And so 3I Atlas is this unknown foreign entity that is visiting Earth at exactly the time that this new moon occurs, and when it's sitting right on the galactic divine core of our galaxy. So what it brings is unknown at this point, or what the message is going to be. Could be a message of peace with Jupiter and Sagittarius. It could bring conflicts, but the ancients always knew that, like comets, there was going to be a change that was coming, and a new message was going to unfold. In addition, this new moon is straddling the shifting of the seasons and the winter solstice that is about to take place shortly after this new moon on December 21st, as the sun moves in at the world axis point of 00 degrees of Capricorn, which ushers in winter. So this is Yuletide. This is when the sun reaches its farthest point south and sits there for 3 days and then begins to move forward on the third day and move towards the north. So we have pretty strong indications that this new moon is definitely going to usher in some new, fresh energy, new perspectives, that the tides are turning, that there's a shifting of our ideologies and our thought processes. So pay attention to your dreams. Now, this period seems to be especially important because it lands in Sagittarius. And Sagittarius is the bringer of hope. So in our most darkest moments, the thing that keeps us going is Sagittarius and the elements of hope, optimism, the courage to believe in something and have such strong faith that it will manifest. So it's a religious sign, and religion, of course, is pretty important around Christmas time. And even in the depths of despair, we can feel hopeful through our faith of whatever you believe that the tides are going to change and the tides are going to push us through to freedom, independence, changing of our circumstance. So this is all a good omen for those new ideologies. And the omen of adventure can be attained through travel. Now, travel was believed in ancient times to be vitally important because we learned things when we traveled. We learned different cultures, we learned different ways of being in ourselves and the interaction that we had in other communities. So, this really can change your truth in the way you see something because Sagittarius is the truth and it is releasing us from this bondage that makes us anxious or restless because we don't know the answer to the question. So the moon also is in mutual reception to Jupiter in Cancer. So it's like these two planets, the moon and Jupiter, can coexist together and unify the energies of this moon. So issues surrounding land, family, properties, housing is going to be pretty important to this new moon. Now, Sagittarius is also about the legal system. So we could have disputes about land rights or treaty rights or who owns whose borderline along a boundary. And so it quickly makes this situation, or it could make situations a little overwhelming for some people. And, as we know, of course, in British Columbia, certain land rights have been given to Indigenous. And the people who built houses there are kind of in a precarious situation as to who owns their home now. So that's where things can get a little overwhelming. It's an energy of charitability. It's an energy of generosity, these two working together and sharing. And it's the perfect time at Christmas to see this generosity of sharing and this camaraderie, I guess, to invite people into your tribe or into your family. So, but it can also be overindulgence. So you need to watch that you don't overindulge. And maybe the connections with family can be a little overwhelming at this time as well. So we need to slow down here. We need to take a breath and just sort of roll with it. I kind of feel like now is not the time to be speaking your opinion, but to be observing, to observe other people's opinions and ideologies. Now, Sagittarius is very linked to the university and the educational system on higher platforms. It's highly involved with immigration and the legal system, and court rulings could be coming down at this time in relation to who belongs and who doesn't belong to the family unit. And a family unit, regardless whether it's a small family unit or a family unit connected to a whole country, as the United States is dealing with right now, who belongs here? Who belongs to be part of us and our group, and who doesn't? So this really brings social awareness and how we're interacting with each other in terms of trade relations and the impact that this has, because Jupiter rules capitalism and it rules wealth and a lot of money. So financial concerns can also be coming into play. They could be related to peace, sovereignty, individuality. And so diplomatic relations and how we interact not only with our own family in our countries or in around the world, there's an element that we need to be tolerant. And there's a strong sense of morality here. strong sense of ethics, to do the right thing, to tell the truth, and not to be hiding under some misconceived promise that is never going to happen. So the adherence and concern to correctness is really, really coming forward in this new moon. And what is somebody hiding from us? Because the new moon is squaring Neptune, and that would mean that Neptune is also in square to the galactic center and the divine. Like there's a veil over top of divinity or the divine messages that need to come forward. And it's also squaring Saturn. So there's something holding this shadow in place. And it's really signaling a time that we're caught up in an illusion or that we can be caught up in a dilemma as of some sort, just as an individual, that we don't know how to solve because nothing is exposed here. And so it adds this layer of confusion, which is going to dissolve eventually in the latter part of January and heading into February. However, this combination between Jupiter and Saturn, this dance that's happening in Pisces, is really kind of saying that things need to dissolve and break down in the systems that we have at this particular point in time because there is an inability to govern within a moral framework. And it leads to corruption within these government institutions at all levels, not just the highest level of a federal government or rulership, but all the way down to the municipal levels or the county levels, that there's this element that is missing now of morality. And now it seems like it's more about winning and the illusions, the covers up, the twisting of the facts. And it's deceptive and it gives a distortion or it clouds our reality. Now, if you're just bumbling along and you don't really care and what does it matter to you, um, is really important because now we kind of get this energy of people who are still sleeping and they're not waking up to the reality of the impacts that this could actually have on society. So there are going to be obstacles with this new moon. There's going to be delays or that we're locked into place in some sort of a holding pattern of some sort. And this can really make you exhausted, tired, that you feel like you have to heal something. You have to fix some sort of dilemma. And we're trying to burst out of this bubble of this fantasy land. And yet we're drowning under the pressures of these ongoing rules and regulations and laws and even the whole system like ICE coming or the police or the whole system is overrun with this regulatory energy. And this, now we're not only exhausted, but we're depressed about this framework and its lack of morals. We have to really watch for extreme weather patterns here, heavy snows or rainfalls that a system gets locked into place over top of a certain area. Like we're clustering in place. Now, this new moon is also in conjunct Uranus, and Uranus is always trying to break free from something that's holding it down. And it really points once again to this consistent pressure to do that, where we dig in our heels, we're not moving, we resist at all costs, and we're forcing ourselves to adjust to these shifting perceptions that are coming out and trying to figure out if they are lies or if they are truths. Now, because Uranus is backed up into the sign of Taurus, this could lead to some economic shifts or financial difficulties within the system, or that you yourself are struggling under the weight of your own financial difficulties. Now, Uranus is going to be joined with Algol, the most feared star in the solar system. And this is called the demon star. And it really says that we're going to lose our heads. Now, this could be we lose our minds or we actually lose our heads. But our heads are going to roll. Somebody's going to be held to account for something that they've done, which is not correct or not within the framework of the regulatory system. And things can come to the surface, like all of a sudden they're just out there. And they're not so hidden anymore. And it's sudden, abrupt energy. So this could really signal a time all the way until the end of March that there is this point where new information or information is coming to light. This is a critical time in our new adventures that are coming out. And we could have breakthroughs within the legal system, breakthroughs if you're struggling with some sort of court issue or legal issue. Someone could be exposed um, who is corrupt or who is using this energy for the wrong purposes and only using it to gain power or to gain financial status. So, major life energy that is moving through that really can be shocking, to say the least. So Venus is very close to Juno, the asteroid of commitment and really sticking to your thought patterns or morals. So this is situations where people go, I'm not doing it. I don't care what you say. I have a moral obligation to do the right thing, and I'm going to do it, whether you want me to do that or not, or expose something that is an untruth, because I know it is not true. So, but yeah, there's this lack of consistency that changes our minds very quickly as new information unfolds or you educate yourself to the different issues that are upon you. So, in this instant, because of Venus and Juno, especially, is squaring Jupiter in Pisces, there is this kind of backing away. This, yeah, I'm committed. No, I'll make the promise, but I can't guarantee anything. So just don't, I might be there, might not be there. And so it's kind of a haze again. Now, Venus is square to Saturn within 1 degree, very close. And this is really going to test our relationships and our commitments within alliances and partnerships. And this could really test those agreements for trade agreements, negotiations, promises that are made. And there's kind of this financial energy associated with this, and there could be some sort of a loss of some kind. So we need to work through to resolve these old issues in order to make progress. You just can't sweep it under the rug now. You have to actually dig it out, root it out. It's going to take a lot of hard work. It's going to take a lot of dedication, faith, commitment to getting at the heart of why these certain relationships with the loved ones or otherwise are such a struggle. So Jupiter is square to Chiron, and that really kind of answers some of these questions. It brings up these old family wounds on a personal level because Chiron's in Aries. And you could really discover that during the Christmas season. People with wounds that aren't going to just, oh, it's a family gathering, don't cause any trouble here. And so we could really be surrounded with this sense of exclusion that we've never really belonged. We don't know why we keep doing this. And it's really personal, it's really raw, and it is really ready to be exposed. So I want to leave Mars to last because Mars rules this. Mars is out of bounds right now. And so people are acting in ways that are outside the social norm. And so we can really get this energy that is people doing very spontaneous things or doing things that are not considered to be socially acceptable. It can also trigger things for people to take steps and do things that are initiate wars or really have some issues with activities that are really not the usual. So if somebody all of a sudden decides to go skydiving, but they have a fear of heights, well, that's something that's out of the social norm for that individual. So Mars sets everything off here with this new moon before December 19th, and it actually hits the energies of this new moon and triggers it on December 13th and 14th, which is right around the corner. So you need to keep your antennas up. You need to be fully conscious, fully awake, and see what's activating on the 13th and 14th. So this is also or could be igniting the truth in many ways to come out through the courts, through law, the judicial system. Something is exposed, the trade agreements, religion. And, you know, in Canada, the Vatican just released a bunch of artifacts that have been in their possession for around 100 years, and they have been returned in good faith to the Indigenous people of Canada. So those types of things can be triggered. Immigration, ICE seems to be particularly active around this time, and forceful initiatives, forcing issues to shift and change, things being exposed, and agreements being exposed. And it's kind of this really fighting spirit that is outside the norm, people being triggered suddenly. And there could be, like, all of a sudden, this cry for justice, right? Now, Mars then opens the portals of the winter solstice at 00 degrees on the world axis, just before this new moon. And so we have to be cautious all through this energy to kind of figure out what is happening. Now, Mars moves into Capricorn here on the 15th of December. So the 13th, 14th, 15th. And Mars really likes Capricorn. Mars is exalted here. It's the strategist. It's the a general who knows exactly what moves to make on that chessboard. And then it opens up the world axis and the activities on the world axis and the events that are happening on a larger scale than just your little community. So it's motivating leaders, governments, strategists, and to figure out maybe how to get out of a moral dilemma. Now, Mars is disciplined here, and it really brings in new leadership to some degree and authority. Because if you can't do it, I'll step in, I'll do it. And that's kind of what it seems to initiate this new, fresh wave of energy, perhaps as new leaders begin to emerge who are younger, more vital, and strategic in their direction of what they want to accomplish. So we are required here to adhere to protocol, but we're adjusting because we're also trying to create an element of freedom and independence. And that is something that really seems to be lacking, our sovereignty as individuals and with our property, our sovereignty with our properties, our sovereignty with our where we live in our communities, and who we are as individuals. And that is something that is also emerging in 2026. It's not necessarily the reality around us that is important. I think what is really important in 2026 is your own individual reality and what it is that you see and where you see yourself positioned in this reality around you. So there's this real strong element of morality that we're trying to balance against our own truths and against the system itself, the system of law, regulations, justice, and not only the truth of those, but the lack of truth. So we do really live in a strange reality right now, one that we have created ourselves. And so we really need to be aware. And maybe you just really need to sit down with yourself and figure out what exactly is your truth and what is your reality. Are you drawn into somebody else's reality? Or are you in yours? So I wish you all a very Merry Christmas and stay in touch with me. If you'd like to book a reading, you can contact me at 306-781-1300 and or you can email me at accsj@live.ca. Have a festive holiday. Bye-bye.